Any message, Melanie, do you have for the viewers about, in general, about life?
Well, I think living a life of purpose is important, and we're all in different stages in our life. And if people are looking, if you're getting ready to retire and you've lived this amazing career and you're not sure where you're going to be, there's really great volunteer opportunities where you can lend your expertise and give back. And maybe your next job is walking your dog.
Yeah, that's. Hi, Melanie.
Hello.
Hi, welcome to Sanj Talks.
Thank you for including me.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here today. Nice day today. So, finally, a lot of sun today. So, yeah, happy people today on the right.
Yes.
I am so glad you came to Sanj Talks today, and we're going to talk about you. And I was reading, Melanie, about you. That's why I invited you to the show, and really impressed by your career paths. But I noticed that there's not one, there's three, right? So, can you elaborate the major changes that happened?
So when I was in high school still, I made a decision. I was a high school student. I had multiple little jobs, but I ended up at a store that sold child products like car seats and cribs and mattresses. And at the time, the number one cause of death for children in the United States were car crashes. And here I am selling the equipment that's supposed to help them. So I became, I could say, a little obsessed with the topic. Okay. I used to bring the owner's manuals home and read them and call the company and ask questions, and really wanted to make sure that we were giving parents the best information we could. And, this is a 19-year-old that we're talking about.
Yeah, curious 19-year-old.
Yes. And just holding on to that responsibility that we had. And so through that, I was going to college at that point and decided, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration released an official training to be certified in child passenger safety. Okay. So I paid for myself to go through that. Then 3 months later, I went to Nevada. I became an instructor. And so all of this I'm doing while I am going to college. And then I created my own business called Safe and Sound Baby, which you probably didn't read about. And then that didn't work because I didn't want to charge anybody to help them. And so in all of that path, I ended up at CSAA, which is really AAA of Northern California, Utah, and Nevada at the time. Okay. And worked in their traffic safety department, which was so worthwhile. And so while I was doing that, I was still in college. And when I graduated, I started there full time and invested so much energy in really understanding how to help people make safer decisions when they're on a bicycle, as a pedestrian, in the vehicle. So I could tell you so many things about the inside of your car. Nobody hears me talk about cars and leaves the conversation unchanged. And so that was such an amazing opportunity. I got to work on government relations and media. And then I had my first baby. And I just couldn't handle the heavy message that I was working on. So before I had kids, it was still something that would impact me. But when I had my first baby, dealing with children that were dying in car crashes was just absolutely too much. And so I was definitely at this weird stage in my life where I had to make a decision. I felt like I had my career, but if I wanted to move away from that and stay in highway safety, I'd have to go into law enforcement or move and do more government affairs type work, and that wasn't an option. So what do? I had a dog named Murphy, who I absolutely adored. He was a golden retriever. And so I opened up Murphy's Paw. It's a little pet boutique store in downtown Pleasanton. It still exists. I don't own it anymore. And so 4 years of my life, while I had 2 more babies, was having that store. And so that was fun because I got to be involved in government affairs there, learned how small business works, and got to really become very grounded within my own community.
Okay. And then after that, you got involved.
And then I knew that I needed to make a change. Having the store wasn't leading my best life of purpose. I really felt like I was missing something. I found when I had the store, my husband used to joke that if I just spent as much time in the store as I spent trying to work on the Downtown Association or the Economic Vitality Committee or all these other things I was doing, that the store would be the most successful store in the world. And so I realized that, you know, my passion really is to make a difference. And I actually have an identical twin sister. And so right before I started at Valley Humane Society, she had started at the Panhandle Animal Shelter in northern Idaho. So it already was in my brain about animal sheltering and helping animals. And so Valley Humane Society asked if I would be interested in coming in and helping them. They were in a really kind of tough situation at the time. And so I said yes. I ended up selling the store, and now I've been with Valley Humane for almost 14 years, and realized that I thought I was going into an organization that really helped animals, and very quickly realized that I was going into an organization that really helped both people and animals.
So you what shaped you came from these 3 things, that 3 important things, and also being a mom and a pet mom and everything, right? So so they kind of integrate with each other, right? Whatever you learned in CSAA kind of helped you with managing, like probably like a store was,
Absolutely.
you know, it's managing a startup, right? And then moving on now that you're doing kind of a bigger role in helping with the pet parents, right? Transitions and shelter and everything, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, you know, I look back and there's things in my career that I thought, oh gosh, I wish I hadn't done that, or what if I had done this differently? And really every decision I made led me to who I am today, and I think it helped me be the leader that I am today. And so it's been really, you know, it's an incredible journey that still hopefully has a lot of time left. And you know, right now I'm the chair of the legislative committee for the California Animal Welfare Association. And I lead our efforts in Sacramento on animal-related policy. There's no way I would have done that if I hadn't been exposed to it at CSAA. You know, when I was in my 20s, or when I started Murphy's Paw, because my division at CSAA was under marketing. I was so aware of brand development and what that looked like that very quickly we were able to build Murphy's Paw into something that everyone knew about. And so, you know, it's so kind of fun to look back and see all of our life experiences and how they influence who we are. And I was always driven to be purposeful. I've been very fortunate that my husband took the heavy lift on making money so that I could, you know, explore all these opportunities and make a difference. And I was close to home, and, you know, I have my 3 boys, so that was nice.
He probably saw that you had a huge drive to make, you know, to make a difference, right? So
Absolutely.
he was like, you know, we need to give her some time so she can do all these
who
important
knows?
things, right?
Who knows what I would do if I didn't have it. Like, I'm a little bit of a busybody, so if I didn't have all of this, I might repaint my house like 6 times a year. And
You need to use that energy, right? So,
absolutely.
So looking back at, you know, all these years, do you remember any challenges? Or you probably everyone, we all have challenges, right? Any challenges, and how did you like handle them? Anything you would like to share about that? Anything you would like to share about that?
We had a particular situation for me when it was time for me to leave CSAA, and so I decided to disclose to my managers why I was leaving. One of the reasons I was leaving, and I actually look back on that and wish I hadn't done it, because if I had done some analysis in my brain on where it would get me, I don't know that. I just wanted to share it, and I don't know that I should have shared it. But I did, talking about what our experiences before and how they shaped us today. One of the things I really realized is that as as a group of people, we come together for a common cause or a common enemy. And I saw people, when you work in a large corporation, you can kind of just witness this experiment over, different departments, and the departments that were just so amazingly successful were united over a common cause. They worked together and they were fighting for the same thing. And they didn't like each other necessarily, but they were too busy and too focused on making a difference that they didn't care about the other stuff. And then you have another department where the driving force was this common enemy, where maybe they didn't like the boss, or maybe they didn't like someone they worked with. And it sucked up so much time and energy that they just weren't super effective. And so I think if you're an employee working in that environment, I have this kind of thing in my life where I never put other people down to elevate myself. And so sometimes if you just take a second and you think, why am I taking the time to diminish this person? Is it helping me look better? And sometimes we can get caught up in that, especially if there's a work culture where that is how you communicate. And I think once you establish a relationship that way, it's very hard to get away from it. And I kind of wish with one of my supervisors that I had never established a relationship that way, because now that I'm the boss, you never want to bring your boss nothing but problems. Then no one wants to talk to somebody who's a troublemaker. Like true. You want solutions, and you want somebody who wants to be empowered to do different things and grow. And so those are kind of those are the things I tell my kids and try to pass on. The other thing I tell my kids, and it's clear in my path, is that there is no one way to be successful. And sometimes we're just telling our kids that you have to take this path or that path. And in reality, everyone's path looks different. And maybe you end up not becoming an engineer. Maybe you get a liberal arts degree, but that liberal arts degree takes you into a profession where you're just so happy. It's like, I don't know, who would have thought that my health science degree would end up leading me to animal sheltering.
Yes. Yeah. So what keeps you grounded, with all that happens and, all the leadership and everything that you do? Do you know any qualities, or do you think that you do have some qualities that keeps you sane or keeps you calm?
Well, even though my husband sometimes makes me insane, he's really good at helping me take a break from work.
Okay.
And I have 3 children, I have 3 dogs, I have a cat, a gecko. I have a busy household and then a busy professional life. But when it's just for me, I love to bake. I don't necessarily love to cook, but I really do enjoy baking, because baking to me is like a real creation. And you can see it turning into something. Sometimes I'll present something and they'll go, wow, this looks so nice. And I'll say, yes, it started from flour and eggs.
Look at that now.
Right? And then I have a really nice backyard, and I don't necessarily love being out in nature. I can't remember the last time I went camping, but I really enjoy being in the garden and watching my flowers bloom. And we have a beautiful bench swing in the backyard, and I love to read. Okay. So I definitely do my best to try to find those moments where I can and I walk the dogs. All those things are very good at just allowing your brain to take a break.
So it's important for us, for anyone, for us women or men, to have that time where they can be creative or relax or, do something that, it's like you said, walking a dog or whatever gives you happiness, right?
Yeah.
What message, Melanie, do you have for an aspiring youngster?
I think, when I think back on my career path, because I was like, any normal teenager, I was going to be a nurse or, we get these little tiny buckets on where we can go. You can get into computer science, you can become a lawyer or a doctor.
Yeah.
It's like, and in reality, there's so many things. But I have seen, even in my career at Valley Humane, that when people volunteer doing what they think they're going to love, and I don't necessarily mean always volunteering, I mean just doing it for free. Like my son loves to make movies, and he, on his own time, he makes his own scripts and he learns about editing. And I think that when you have a real passion and you're willing to put your time and energy into it because you love it, you can turn that into an amazing career where you are living and you have a career based on happiness and purpose. And so I think we get so focused on following a path that we forget that we need to be happy.
Yeah.
And so finding volunteer opportunities where you can test the field to see if it's something that you really want to do is important.
Okay. So basically follow your passion and it will turn into something that will also be financially also start helping you, right? Because if you're doing something that you love to do, you will add more work towards it, or like make it like effective.
Yeah, it can become a career. Like think of Steven Spielberg made movies way before he was paid to make movies. And you look at like, I'm going to just guess that Steve Jobs and others were coding way before they were getting paid to do it. And so, really searching your heart to see if there's something that you really enjoy, and then moving forward. Because success is really about being very good at something. And it could be very good at something you don't like. That is, I always tell if anybody's read Diary of a Wimpy Kid, because I have boys, Roderick's rules, one of them is don't be good at anything you don't want to do. And so like he would get asked to do the dishes and he would do such a terrible job that he would never get asked to do the dishes again. And I kind of think that's a funny thing, right? Like just don't be good at something that you don't really want to do. And we all have to do things we don't want to do, but I just want, I think sometimes, especially in our own community where success is so important and oftentimes kids are being driven so hard that we lose focus on the fact that making money isn't the most important thing. Now, does it help us? Yes, and it helps us live a life that has less hurdles sometimes and struggles, but it's also important to enjoy what you're doing if you can, even if that means that you won't make as much money as your parents made. But if you can still live a nice life and then you are happy too, that's what I hope for my boys, is that they just find an avenue doing something that they love and that they can, and they can have a happy life.
A balanced life, right?
Yeah.
Any message, Melanie, do you have for the viewers about, in general, about life?
Well, I think living a life of purpose is important. And so sometimes, again, and everyone's purpose looks different. So I don't want to say that means giving back, but we're all in different stages in our life. And if people are looking, if you're getting ready to retire and you've lived this amazing career and you're not sure where you're going to be, there's really great volunteer opportunities where you can lend your expertise and give back if that's something that's important to you. Or maybe you adopt. You can come in and find your new family member, and maybe your next job is walking your dog.
That's true.
You don't get paid for that, but you should.
You get paid by the hugs and the
all the licks and
the licks. and then the dog wanting to be with you all the time because you never he doesn't know when there's a walk time now.
That's
again.
right. Like, listen, if it worked once, it will work again. So they just follow you everywhere.
They just follow you everywhere. Yeah, that's important. I feel. If we also talk briefly, I know we've kind of said message, but I was thinking you also talked about some values and everything, right? Like you said, like before integrity, like those are important, right? And those are given by our parents, right? We also learn them down the line. Do you want to say something about that?
I think so my former CEO at CSAA was very values driven, and that really helped me moving into essentially a CEO role at Valley Humane. Okay. So in animal welfare, there's so many different messages out in animal welfare, and oftentimes what you hear about rescue animals is sometimes just made up. And it's made up because people think that will entice people to adopt that animal if they feel like they're rescuing it. It might be made up because they're trying to fundraise. And so coming into, and the other thing is a lot of bashing of people. People are the bad guys. People, are horrible. How could they do these things? And so knowing, coming from an industry where we were helping people, I didn't have any interest in working with an organization that was going to just create the enemy, right? I don't want to work somewhere where we're just talking about the enemy. And so at Valley Humane, we really established these values, and when you establish them, and I worked with the whole team to do it, but you really realize that they're your values as well, especially as the leader. And so integrity is super important to me, making sure that we're being really transparent, that everyone from volunteers, supporters, I don't care who it is, that if there's nothing off limits for you to ask, because if we have to keep secrets, then there might be something wrong with what we're doing. And so that's important. Compassion is important. Collaboration. I think that, with my work with the California Animal Welfare Association, trying to impact legislation that benefits the lives of people and animals, people were fighting within the legislature that had the same common cause, and then the representatives didn't know who to believe. And so collaboration for me was so important, even if I didn't necessarily get along with somebody. So we ended up bringing everyone together. So all these groups that had influence in Sacramento. And now we are working as a team, and it has made the biggest difference. And so there's so many different animal welfare groups in our own area. There's probably 200 rescue groups between Alameda and Contra Costa County. Wow. Okay. And none of us alone could solve the problem that we have in animal shelters right now. We all need to exist. And so I really believe we should never put anyone else down to elevate ourselves. And so working and collaborating is important. We have a surgery center on Spring Street in Pleasanton, and we support over 34 other rescues and shelters so that we can help them get their animals moved through their system faster. Okay. And so it's just, living a life of values, working in an organization that's driven by values, I think it helps us stay grounded and focused on the things that really matter.
Okay. So that's the vision that you share with your organization, right? Yes. And they're all kind of, being a leader, you can spread that message, right? So then everybody understand that we need to be transparent, we need to respect each other, or things like that.
Work as a team, and then they hold me accountable. Like, you'd be surprised. We had this one situation where I had a relationship with an adopter from Murphy's Paw. And I was like, I don't think we should adopt this person. And it's like one of my proudest moments. All of my managers pulled me into the office and they said, this woman has given us no reason to think that she can't be an amazing adopter. We're worried that your past experience is influencing this and that we're not leading or living by our values. And I was so impressed. I just said, you're right. You do what you guys think is best, because we don't have to, just because people aren't good people doesn't mean that they aren't great with animals.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
It was nice.
That's when you feel that your vision got basically transferred, right?
Yes.
Like, so like, oh, it's being shared effectively, right? Everybody is on the same page.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
All right. Any last one comment, Melanie? And then it's been a great conversation. But just one thing you want to share with the viewers today about animals, about adoption, about anything.
Absolutely. I would love to encourage people to consider adopting an animal. And I understand if somebody chooses to go to a breeder. I've had a purebred. Murphy was a purebred dog. But there are so many amazing animals in our shelters right now that are just waiting for a home, and they're not there because they did anything wrong. They're there because something happened with their owner. Their owner may have passed away. Their owner maybe couldn't find housing that would allow them to keep their pets. And so you've got some really amazing opportunities just sitting there waiting for the chance to be your new family member. And so that would be my, like, oh gosh, if we could just get more people to consider adopting, not because you're saving an animal or you're taking on a huge responsibility, because they're not broken, believe it or not. But I think it's so important as a community that we support those that don't have, that are homeless, and give them a bright new future. So
All right. Okay. Thank you, Melanie, for your time today. It was great conversation. It was a great time.
thank you so much. I appreciate it.
If you want to talk about anything at all, then you know who to call. Just tell Sanjana. Tell Sanjana. Tell Sanjana. Tell Sanjana. Just tell Sanjana.